to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to another episode of A Well-Designed Business. Stephen Karlisch joins me today. Stephen is an interiors photographer out of Dallas, Texas, and he was referred to me by Pulp Design Studio, Beth Tutolo, and Carolina Gentry. Stephen started out in the late 90s assisting commercial photographers from fashion to advertising to catalog work. And in the early 2000s, he started photographing interiors for local and national publications such as Southern Accent, Veranda, Elle Decor, and AD. And then he started focusing on documenting local Texas designers and working for them and helping them build their portfolios and their ads. Today on the show, Stephen shares how he has come to learn that the key to successful interiors photography is based in the collaboration between the designer and the photographer. And he tells us that an experienced photographer understands how important their role is in helping you get the image and the content you need to drive traffic to your firm. He explains we are an image-based society, and now it is imperative to have a strong online presence with visual candidly, or it will be hard to attract the clients, the editors, and the brands that you want to pay attention to you. Before we get to my conversation with Stephen, two things. The first is a shout out to our sponsor, Article.com. Article.com is your resource for online mid-century furniture with a modern style and Scandinavian simplicity. The collection includes sofas, lounge chairs, as well as bedroom, outdoor, and office furniture. Article has a trade program that you should check out at welldesign.article.com. And I'm just going to ask if you would, when you visit, if you do sign up for the trade program, go through the URL welldesign.article.com. I don't receive an affiliate fee, but they are a paid sponsor of the show. And that means that they help me to keep bringing this show to you every week. So we need to know, and we want them to know, that their sponsorship is working and that it's appreciated by all of us. They help me, and then I help you, and then you help them, and then they help you deliver quality furniture fast to your clients. And be sure to listen to episodes number 367 and 301. These two episodes are in-depth interviews digging deep into the features and the benefits of Article.com so that you can decide for yourself if this is a good fit for you and your clients. So, as I said, go to welldesign.article.com. Hi, Stephen. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hey, Luann. It's great to hear from you, and thanks for inviting me on your show.
Yeah. So you and your wife, Kristen, are some powerhouse couple. I'm just going to tell you that right off the bat.
Thanks. I couldn't do any of it without her. So
yeah, I'm going to tell you, I think
effort.
I have to say I agree with that. You know, you definitely have an amazing body of work. And of course, your talent as a photographer is clear. But yeah, she's got that business side wrapped down. I have to say, all the interactions transactions, all the dealing. She is on it.
She is. She is. It's amazing how much she probably does twice as much work as I do. So,
well, it's important, right? It's what we talk about on the podcast all the time. It's both sides of the business. You are, you're the creative, you're out there, you're doing all the photography, and we say all the time that if you don't have the ability or desire or aptitude for the business side, you got to get somebody to help you with that, right?
It's just talking to someone about that yesterday. It's so true. I really struggle on the business aspects of running a business. So having a partner that handles most of the day-to-day business side of what I do is truly helpful. I'm more, the art side, and she's the business side, and it just complements each other so well.
Right? Because it frees you to do what you do, right? Like you
Yes.
love to do photography and, the 19 emails to get an interview set up and change this and do that and get a Skype and get a Logitech. I mean, it's crazy the details that go into the silly parts of it, right?
It's true. It's true. Yeah, it's too much. Scheduling is huge, and when I'm busy, when I'm out on a shoot, I don't even look at my phone. So I'm basically gone for the day. And for people not to hear back from somebody for an entire day or even 2 days is terrible in business. So you got to have somebody there who can definitely have that client relations side down and interact and answer questions and get things to people. And she runs that side of the business so well.
Okay. So, and I also want to mention that you were recommended to me by Carolina Gentry, one half of Pulp Design Studio, her with her partner Beth Tutolo, who the two of these ladies have been on my show a couple of times, both episodes 176 and number 310. And I have a particular sweet spot for these two ladies. I have interviewed over 300 people, and I could never pick a favorite. That's like picking your favorite kid. But, you have that dozen or so that are just, there's something that happens, a connection that happens. And these two women, I really admire and respect as, well, you know what it is? What happens is they're insanely talented. The work is terrific, but I love how intentional they are and strategic they are with their design firm. It's so, almost every time I ask them a question, there's an answer. Not that just sort of happened. It's like, no, well, this is what we did, and 2 years ago we thought about that.
Yes, yeah, no, they're a pleasure to work with, and I'm thankful that they passed on the information that they were on your podcast, because that's how we found out about you. Back on their second podcast, and I learned so much from hearing their podcast. Even though I work with them all the time and I've known them for years, I learned so much about just basic business just listening to their podcast, and it's changed the way that I communicate with them, even on a job. And it's understanding their wealth of knowledge is huge to me. It's amazing. Everybody should listen to both their podcasts. Yes. About how they run their business.
So that's interesting. What could you pick a thing or two that you just said you change the way you communicate with them based on listening to their podcast, how they run their business? Is there an example you could share that's interesting?
I think just the whole aspect of how they grasp how to grow their business in a visual sense is really important to me. And I see a lot of other designers struggle where they are succeeding, and I point a lot of designers to them to use as an example, like go see what they're doing, go to their website, check out what they're doing, check out their Instagram feed. Like they're doing everything, to me, they're doing everything right. And they're so adamant about just pushing through. Every day they've got new content, and it's great looking. I love to see their little Instagram posts, their stories pop up. I get, I always swipe up. I always see what's going on, and I always go to their blog and I read everything that they post. So there's not a lot of designers that I can say that I do that with, and it's more out of they're just doing it right. And in just being around them on a photo shoot, and you can see how smooth they are with everybody that works for the firm, even down to their interns. It's amazing the control that they have with their whole vision, and getting that out there, in through videos and through social is amazing how they're able to do that. A lot of people struggle. They just can't figure out how to get that level of continuity going within their brand. So I think they're ones to watch for sure.
Yes. It's funny because as you're describing it, you said it more eloquently than I did, but that was my same reaction from the very first time I came across them. And I would have to go back and listen to the show myself and see if somebody recommended them or if I came across them just through Google searching designers. But what I do know very clearly is however I originally got to their website, when I got there, I was like, oh my goodness. Like you just said, this is how to do it. It was exactly as you said, cohesive, sharp. And what I loved about it, and I remember the first episode that was 176, it was the series of all the little videos. And now, of course, I'm going back probably a year and a half or so since I've interviewed them the first time. Maybe it's even longer than that. And it seems so normal now to have video on your website. It was just really emerging then. And I remember Marie Flanagan had it at the time, but it was 1 out of 10 designers, 1 out of 15 designers that had video, and these girls had video, and they had several video, and I'll never forget. The Skype call rings. I call you up like we just did with you, Stephen, and they said hello, and I was just like, okay, I just need to let you know that I feel like you're my best friend, so I'm going to start right there. Like, that was the first thing I said to them because they expressed who they were so well in their videos. You don't do video as well, but you work with them. How does that work for you, Stephen?
I'm trying to incorporate video right now within my business, but it's really tricky. I think I think my level of perfection is a little too high, so I'm struggling with the execution
You feel
of
my pain.
getting things done, and I really shouldn't be held back that way. And I think a lot of people need to realize you can just use your iPhone, and it's probably the best tool for anyone out there is to just be on your iPhone all the time in video mode. And capturing that content that you can just cut and splice together later on. The one thing that Beth and Carolina do so well in their videos is they really show their personality, which I think is the hardest part to get out of somebody on video. It takes a lot of practice, and they're just naturals in front of the camera, and that's exactly how they are in person.
Right, exactly.
And that's exactly who they are when you work with them. And if both of them are on a photo shoot together with me, I get really excited when I go to meet them on location because it's a fun day. It's fun just with Carolina when she's here in Dallas, but when Beth and Carolina are together, it's a full on comedy routine sometimes because their personalities are great together. So I love working with them, and their videos really showcase everything about their firm, which, as they said in the podcast, it sort of helps weed out people that may not want to work with them, and they don't have to go through that process.
It's the truth. If you watching all that and you're not as enthralled and charmed as Stephen and I are, then you know what? Move on. Find the next one. Yeah. Right? Exactly. So talk to us about that photo shoot when you're on location. So you said that you love working with Carolina and Beth, not only because of the fun, I'm sure, that the day is, but there must be specific things that that makes a shoot more successful, that is the responsibility of the designer, right? No matter what it is, what are some of the things that you would say to our friends listening in order to have a successful photo shoot?
I think one of the ways that I work with Pulp, for example, is, and basically every designer I try to force into this program of mine, is to emphasize just a preliminary almost like a pre-production call, like I would have in commercial photography, where I discuss a little bit about the project, I learn about the house I'm going to be photographing, and then I set up a scout. And the scout is, to me, probably the most crucial part of the photo shoot. And anyone who's not doing a scout really needs to listen, because when I go to scout a project with the designer, I walk through the house, I photograph all the areas that they want to capture from the best angles. I come back on my computer, I kind of tweak everything. It only takes me about an hour, and I shoot them all the images of what I think are the best views of the rooms they want to capture. And let's say I'm going to photograph a kitchen in a house. I want to find what are the best 2 angles of this kitchen? What are the best 3 angles of this kitchen? I don't want to go back in there and have to think about it on the day of the shoot, and they don't want to have to sit there and think about it either. It takes time. So if we can sit there and look at the images that I created from the scout, go through them, then I create a detailed PDF that is basically a shot list of the day. So from beginning to end of the day, it's like we're going to start here in the morning at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and we're going to move through, ending in ending up in the master bathroom or whatever because of the way the light is falling on the house. But we all understand what is going to happen throughout the day, so they can work ahead of me and they can pre-style, move furniture if they need to, put artwork up if they need to. Nothing has to slow down for me, or for them. It's a team effort. It goes so much smoother. I know exactly what they want when they go through the PDF, and they can, pick and choose. Like, we really love this angle of the kitchen, but can you let's crop out this table, and so boom, I'm there. It's like I've already seen it. I know where to go, and everything just flows quicker. I know where to put my lighting, if I'm using lighting, or if the natural light's good enough, and it's such a better outcome for me and for them, versus me just walking in cold the morning of a shoot, never seeing the place, and having to sort of come up with these shots as I go, if that makes sense.
It makes amazing sense. I have to say, I've never heard it described that way in all the episodes on the podcast, either from the photographer standpoint or the designer standpoint. That doesn't mean that the previous photographers that we've had on the show don't do it. It doesn't mean the designers don't do it, but I've never heard it described. That sounds so efficient, and I love the idea of, like the simple thing of being able to see the shot beforehand and being able to say to you, when you actually take that shot, we don't want that table in it. Is it possible to have the same angle and crop that out? Like you said, instead of on the moment, because I've been on photo shoots before, and it's a lot of all of that in real time. What do you think of that? I don't know. What do you think of this? Okay, that. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And this is, like you said, I'm picturing the designers that you're working with being able to have the few moments, the collaboration in real time on a particular shot, but then they can leave the room and go somewhere else and get something else done, instead of just 8 or 9 hours of standing there watching you and being available to answer every little question. Like, I love that.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many shoots I've been on where, when left alone and I'm doing my own shots and I'm shooting a house the way I want to shoot it, and the designer looks at the images later and they're like, "Why did you shoot that angle? That's not our sofa. We didn't want to see that." And you kind of are like, "Okay, well, that was a waste of time. It was a waste of my time. It was a waste of your money to have me there." So I want everybody laser focused on the shots that they really want to get out of a typical home shoot. If you're planning on submitting it to be published, or even for your website, you're really gonna want about 15 solid styled shots. And what I mean by that are 15 to 20. I'm usually good at about 15 solid shots, which these are shots you're going to live with for the rest of your career as a designer. These are the shots you're going to put in your book that Rizzoli's going to do about you in 10 years. And they're going to look great, and you're going to be happy to show them off. I have designers pulling images that I shot for them in 2001, 2002, and they're still running them as ads. And it just goes to show, we put the effort in then. The shots are great, and they still want to use them. And if you kind of slack off on the seriousness of doing the photo shoot right in the beginning, you pay for it in the long run, because you can't go back and shoot these houses again. If you're going to do a book project in 10 years, forget it. You're not going to be able to go back and shoot those houses. Anyway, so I
love that. I love that, because you never know if the road is going to take you to be in a place to, like I say, be prepared to get lucky. So maybe in 10 years you are quote unquote lucky and you are the one who's going to be in a book, but you have to be prepared. You have to come and have had those shots. Rizzoli isn't going to look at you and say, "Oh, okay, that'd be awesome," except that we only want the last minute and a half of your career. They want the expanse of your career, right?
Definitely, as a young designer, think about, you've got to invest in your brand imagery right from the beginning. People that I shot for 10, 15 years ago when I first was getting started in the business, the ones that were really investing heavily in photography then are the people that I'm seeing doing books now. So it makes a huge difference. If you feel like you maybe don't have the content ready, or you're not quite there with a full house project or whatever, you definitely you need to document everything. I just photographed a nursery for a young design firm here in Texas, and it was the same speech I'm giving you right now. Is just let's do it right. Let's just do it. They brought in a ton of extra product. They styled it. We had a designer bring in her daughter, her baby, the cutest little girl, and we had all hands on deck. We had 4 people helping on the shoot. It was a nursery. It was one room, and we knocked it out. And it's something that they can live with forever on their portfolio. They can use it in a book project in the future. They can use it as an ad, blog story, whatever. It's there. It's done. It's ready to go, and it's just that kind of level of attention to every little single thing that you do as a designer is really important from the beginning.
So tell me a little bit about that, because I think that we have said this over and over, literally, designer after designer who has reached a certain level of success, and professionals like yourself have said, invest in photography from the beginning. Okay, so this is not new for us. Okay, however, when you forget the expense, okay? Because the expense is you're going to make a decision as a young professional or new professional. I hate when I say the word young, because you could be a new designer at 50 years old. So as a new professional, we're going to make the assumption, you and I, Stephen, that they're just going to put aside. I always say, look, it's a marketing budget. Put it aside, like that's it. So let's just be on the point of that and assume that somebody has understood how important it is, and they have squirreled away some money, they've built some money into the project, whatever the means are, they've gotten their mother to give it to them. I don't care what it is, right? But the next question is the photo-worthy work. So often at the beginning of your career, it's you don't have the budget that the client is not, you're not attracting the client that has that high-end budget, and you look at people like Carolina and Beth at Pulp Studio, and you look at Marie Flanagan's and the Laura Umanskis, and you think, yeah, my work doesn't look like that yet. And it's not because I'm not capable, it's because I didn't have the budget. So tell us about how we go about getting, and what are the tips to get good shots when it's just a regular budget? Like the design was a regular budget. Are there things that you do as a photographer? Are there things that a stylist does that takes that regular project and elevates it for the photography?
Yes, yeah, definitely. I work with, anytime I can, I try to push a couple of stylists onto designers, just basically because they know how to make even a simple room look great. They can help accent any aspect of a photo shoot. I think floral is probably one of the things that a lot of people struggle with and is super important. If you look at any publication, really study the floral and work with a floral designer. A lot of people I've seen blow hundreds of dollars buying arrangements for a photo shoot, and they just place them randomly throughout the house. And I'm like, we could have, for half of that, we could have had a florist here building floral for each shot for the whole day. And they're like, really? They don't understand that. And it's so much more, cost efficient and helpful, because it's going to help your images get noticed better. One of the things, whenever I've submitted projects to publications before, a lot of times if they want to reshoot a project, it's typically because of floral and styling. So if you work with a team that is sort of, they do editorial shoots all the time, they're going to know exactly what the magazines are going to want to see. They're going to help steer the style and design of the shot to work for editorial. And chances are you're going to get picked up, or at least taken seriously, if you put that level of effort into your photo shoots in the beginning.
Okay, so there's two other professionals that we want to consider is the stylist and the floral designer. Are there times when you would say that the stylist is also skilled at the floral design, or do you believe that they truly are different talents and you should consider hiring each?
Um, Definitely, there are a ton of stylists out there that do their own floral. I know a couple off the top of my head that I'm thinking of that are amazing at handling the floral aspects of it. But it's it's just depends on the stylist
Okay.
that you can find. And people sort of don't understand how much time it takes to do floral on location. And I have a lot of designers who they'll go source a bunch of floral, bring it all that morning to the shoot, and then we're trying to photograph the dining room, and they're trying to put some amazing arrangement together in the kitchen, and struggling, and they come bring something in, and then they're not happy with it, and it just becomes a big ball of stress. And I try to steer people away from having those moments during a photo shoot. And if you can just bring someone in or think about it ahead of time, and that's another reason where the scout comes in, is one of the aspects of doing the scout is we can discuss floral as well. So if they're going to be handling the floral on their own, they can see where the floral needs to go and think about what they're going to need to bring. If it's something tall, if it's something, if it's a thing of filler or sticks, or or just an object, they know exactly what to bring for each shot, and it's not going to be time wasted and a wasted shot at the end of the day.
Okay,
If we do it the wrong way.
because you see it differently when you see it in the picture than you do when you're standing in the room. That's what you're saying. So when you go and you do your scouting shots, then you are making your recommendations, but you're sending it to the design firm ahead of the appointment, the day for the actual shoot. And that's when you're giving them a little tip sheet of think about floral for this room, la 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 la. And then if they aren't going to hire a florist, at least they can, like you said, they can understand if it's short and wide, if it's tall and skinny, if it's what do we need here, right?
Exactly. And for a designer to sort of think that every photographer is a great stylist or a great florist, we're not. I mean, I think there are definitely a few that are amazing photographers that are great at styling and probably can do the floral as well. But it's a pretty rare combination to have somebody who can really do all three. And when your photographer is trying to move equipment from room to room, maybe move lighting, move things, move furniture, whatever, for the shot, trying to get the shot right, the last thing I really want to think about is having to make a decision about floral or styling. It really throws me. I don't know how all other photographers are, but I get, that's really why I want someone else there. It's just take that stress away from me as a photographer, because I really want to focus on making the best photograph. I don't want to put my styling hat on at that moment.
Right.
So,
and like you said, it is personal to each photographer as a professional. I know we had Raquel Langworthy on the show last month, and she definitely agrees with you. She agrees that having a stylist is very, very beneficial, important, improves the entire project and the outcome of the project. But she also said that, look, and I can do it too. And so she's not opposed to doing it, but she, in fact, mentioned how she has worked with Charlotte Safafi, who has been on the show, and she's episode number 138. And Charlotte is a well-known, well-respected, highly regarded photo stylist in the industry, and I believe she's out of the D.C. area. So when we talk about hiring a stylist, I mean, is it 1-800-STYLIST? Like, where do you, I mean, I'm saying it like that flip, because in 3 years of doing this show, I've actually only interviewed and been pitched or introduced to one stylist. And you would think that if it's so important and it's so well known by the upper level firms that this is not really a negotiable part of the day, that there would be more talk about them. I just feel like it's funny because it feels like a gap in the podcast. So where do you recommend that a designer listening, wherever they are in the country, they're in Kansas, how do you find a stylist?
Well, the whole styling thing they definitely are really hard to find, even for me as a photographer to find
Oh,
the
okay.
right
So it's
stylist
not
to work
just
with.
me. I'm not crazy.
No, no, no. But I kind of I just like to tell people it's almost the same way as trying to find a great interior photographer that's going to be somebody you're really going to want to work with and understands your brand and your style. Um, there are stylists that are really good at catalog. There are stylists that are really good in advertising, commercial shoots, and then you have stylists who can do home interior shoots. And you really want to kind of source through your publications that are in your area. If it's a regional magazine, they're probably pulling stylists from right where you are.
Oh.
And I would start by calling them, contact their photo department, or even look. A lot of times the stylists are credited on the in the stories in the magazine. So I would start there and just start contacting these stylists, try to find them on Instagram, try to see what they like, what they don't like, and find somebody that you can relate with. Some stylists just don't work with certain designers, so it's sort of a it's a good thing to do your research. Don't just think that every stylist is going to do the same thing. I refer different stylists for different designers based on what I feel is going to work better with that designer, and that's basically where I would start.
Okay,
Is
so I love that.
contacting a magazine. I work with one here in Dallas who's really not on social media. She's kind of difficult to track down, but once you kind of know who she is, it's you realize you're really hard to get on her schedule. So
she's not really looking for her door to be banged down. She's got her cadre of designers that she works for, and she's very busy with that, and she's working, and that's that. Okay, so you have to respect that. A lot of people aren't looking for every job under the sun. They're looking for a balance of work, and they like to work at the lane that they work in, right?
True, and I feel a lot of designers think that they are the stylist, so they want to do everything themselves, or their team is going to help style the entire shoot. And I do work with some groups that do all the styling themselves, and they're great at it. So I really just kind of recommend it as an opportunity to help you as a designer step back away from what's happening and to look from the perspective of the camera, look at the computer that I'm shooting to or the iPad that I'm shooting to, and look at the image and make art direction decisions. Like, be the art director. Don't be, the person and they're moving everything around. Like, you need to be directing people and looking at it as a whole, versus being so consumed with moving books on a shelf or moving this to there and whatever. It's not the best use of your time. So I feel like if you can bring a good stylist on board or have a team working for you that you can work with the photographer, that's where your photos are going to start looking better.
It's sounding a lot to me like the process of putting a final room together for a reveal. Here you are, you're the interior designer, you've created this room, and now your window treatment person is going to come in and put the draperies up, and the furniture, the receiving company is going to come in and place the furniture, and the rug company is going to deliver the rugs, but you're not hauling this stuff in and out the door. You're standing there going, there, move over to the right, la, 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 right? And you're saying the same thing should be the approach with the photography shoot, that you're behind the camera or next to the camera with the photographer and giving your yay or nay on what the stylist is doing, or you're just your 2 cents. I mean, you have to respect somebody's opinion as a professional, right? But ultimately,
exactly.
It's your vision as the designer. Your work is being represented.
Yeah, and you really need to be involved with understanding what is being captured at that moment, because the worst thing is to come back later after a shoot and to have questions about maybe the styling or why is this in there? Why does it look this way? There are certain things you can fix later in post as a photographer, but a lot of times I want to walk away from a shoot at the end of the day knowing that the client is completely satisfied with all the images that they got. They're ecstatic about it, and it's done. It's a done deal.
So let me drill down a little bit before we go further on this, on when we are at that newer end of our career and we have a project and we've put some beautiful elements into the project. We absolutely know that we have some quality pieces, whether it's the carpet, the window treatments, the furniture, but the whole thing isn't quite that elevated level. I think as a matter of fact, I think it was Beth who actually said the phrase to me, and it hit me, design to completion. So they no longer, if I'm recalling the episode correctly, I believe it was her, they said that they no longer will take a project that they are not going to design to completion. Okay. And I think that's an awesome way. But there are so many designers that do not have the opportunity to design to completion. The major pieces in, the bookcase might have been built, and the furniture, as I said, is placed, but all that other stuff that makes it beautiful. What do we do in that case? How does that, like, take me to, if you can recall, when you've worked with a designer who just affording your services and possibly a stylist and or floral designer, but then that next level is just, how do we reach it? What are we doing there?
Yeah, it's just how do you take a project that's 80% of the way there? How do you get it to
photograph ready? Because you're saying to do it from the beginning of our career, but exactly the beginning of the career is when we're not always so lucky to have a design to completion project.
Well, a great example I just mentioned earlier was I just worked with this young design team that we just did a nursery shoot, and they collaborated with a local a shop here in Texas that they could source some of their stuff from their store. I didn't realize how much they brought in for the shoot until we were done shooting. And
it was all going
out. And I looked at the room and I said, "This is an empty room. Like, what was here? The crib? I mean, that was it. I mean, they brought everything in. I was shocked. But it just goes to show you, you really don't even need a full project. One of the things that I tell people they can do is they can bring in elements and shoot them on a white wall. Like, think of it as an editorial sort of photo shoot. You can, if you really want to start somewhere and you don't even have a house to shoot, but you want to show off your interior design skills, a lot of covers for interior design magazines are shot in studio, and you think, oh, that looks like a house. Well, it's just a wall. It's just a wall that looks like a wall in a house. If you hire the right photographer, if you hire a studio photographer, maybe a catalog photographer, for a day, you could probably knock out 3 or 4 vignettes that you could create just on a studio wall. Okay. Bring in your does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
It may be a little out there, but
yeah. No, the moment that I loved was the collaboration with the local business. That's like, whoa, genius.
Yeah.
No,
everybody does it. I think everybody does it that I work with. They bring in, they source a lot of extra things and bring in for every shoot. I don't think there's not a lot of designers that I work with unless they're the uber high-end designer that really sort of has everything there ready to go.
Okay, see, that's the disconnect that we don't really recognize, right? We're thinking everybody else has a project designed to completion and we're the only ones that don't. Like, right? And so, but what I love is instead of the whole covert thing of, I'm going to go buy all this stuff and I'm going to leave the tags on, you walk in and ask for a collaboration with that retailer. It's genius.
And they all want to be a part of it too. So and especially with social media reach these days, it's more beneficial to collaborate with different brands that you can actually share the images with, and everybody benefits in the long run. But I tell people all the time, there's a lot of tricks in photography. Like if you really want, like let's say the bar stools in the kitchen of your client, like they have these bar stools that they didn't go with your bar stools. So they've got these hideous bar stools that you're like, oh, I don't want to shoot the kitchen because these bar stools. Well, you don't have to bring in 6 bar stools. You can bring in 1 bar stool and I can photograph it 6 times and put it together in Photoshop. So, there's tricks to the trade that a photographer can do to really help you make the shot work. You don't have to bring in 2 side lamps or 2 side tables for a bedroom shot. I can photograph it 2 times and put it together in Photoshop in 10 seconds. So
whoa,
you don't have to bring the whole house. You can bring, like if you want to shoot a lamp 2 times in a room, just bring 1. You don't have to bring 2. It's like we can just shoot it and move it and shoot it. It's, or chairs. Like if you want 2 club chairs in a room, you just bring one. You don't have to bring two unless, for some reason you want to bring two. But there's a lot of tricks to moving things around. A lot of times we do that with kitchen shots if you see the shelves and you see all the product in if they're open shelves or glass cabinets and you can see inside, it's like, we'll shoot it, move it, shoot it. You don't have to stock the entire kitchen with a whole thing. It's that kind of stuff. If you think through it with your photographer in the scouting phase, I can bring a lot of those suggestions to the designer. Say like, just bring in, maybe you just need to bring in one of these or two of these, and it really kind of helps them understand, I can just bring a few things and we can make this work. So
that's probably one of the most significant tips that I've heard about photography. And you know what? I'm not the girl that does anything on Photoshop or any of these things, Adobe and all that nonsense. So maybe it's common knowledge, but to me, it's like, whoa.
It's huge.
I never would have thought you could have one stool and then make a kitchen look like it has 6 stools sitting at it. That's crazy.
You can. And we do it all. I do it all the time, and it really kind of helps. And the other thing is artwork. I think a lot of people are like, I don't really want to shoot that room. It doesn't have, they didn't buy the art I wanted, or, it just doesn't have any artwork. It's like, bring a piece of art. We can hold it up on the wall and shoot it and Photoshop it in. Or I can place art in Photoshop later. It's not as realistic. It's better to have it on location. So if you can bring a piece, it doesn't even have to be to scale. It can be, if it's a smaller piece, I can, it just sort of depends on what the actual piece is. I can scale things to make them fit if you need something over a bed, or,
That's crazy.
If you've got plaster walls and you don't want to put holes in them, you're like, just hold something up. So
you could hold it up and then cut the people out of it that are holding it up.
I can fake chandeliers. We can hold chandeliers in a shot. You can hold artwork in a shot. I mean, it's whatever you want.
That's amazing to me. I don't know. When things like this blow me away, I wonder if I'm the only one that's thinking that's crazy. I wonder if everybody's like, Luann, you're such a dummy. We all know that.
The best photos are the ones. Yeah, the best photos are the ones where you pull back 10 feet from the camera and see the chaos that's going on to make the shot work. So,
well, you know what it is? The sin of it is, it reminds me of, I raised 2 daughters, right? And thankfully they're both, women now in their 30s, and they're great people. But, you bring daughters up through the age of middle school and high school and college, and, here they are looking at Shape magazine and Self magazine and Lululemon, and you're just like, ladies, these women don't look like this. This has been airbrushed. They have cellulite too. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I'm sitting here going, whoa, these rooms don't look like this.
They never do. And, one of the things that's amazing, we're going to finally break down and do a blog on our website, but just the before and after shots that I do from my scouts to when the final shot is done, showing the level of styling that goes into a room is, I think, going to be important for designers to see. Yes. It's the before and after. It's I'll walk into a house that looks amazing and do scouting shots, but then once we're done tweaking it for the shots, it looks completely different, and it's just amazing what you can do when you really put just a little bit of extra effort into an image.
That's incredible, Stephen. That would be such a powerful blog post to really educate somebody a designer in that value, because we've been harping on it for almost 3 years about the value of professional photography, but all of this, and to actually see the behind the scenes of the people holding the thing and the one bar stool, and all of the stuff that you are able to manipulate. Because I have to say, I think that, and that's why I went a little deeper into that question, because often the newer designer will just be like, the things I put in are great, but the rest of it is you know what I'm saying? And so I love the huge tip of walking into a local retailer and proposing the collaboration. Hey, and of course, like you said, it's not just the collaboration. Like 15 years ago, I might make this proposal to a retailer, and we're both going to say, we can put it in a pamphlet and we can put it on our website. But now with Facebook and Instagram and everything else, the ability to really leverage and maximize that exposure. And what retailer doesn't want it too? Hey, you see it in a picture, go buy that bar stool back at this location. So I think it's so smart. I love it. Oh my goodness, that's so exciting. All right, so all the interiors are fake, just like all the women in their bathing suits are fake. Loving life. Okay. So,
and one more tip for designers: if you're shooting a house, if especially younger designers, bring books.
Oh,
that's like the number one thing. A lot of new clients just don't have a great library of art books, coffee table books, and that's huge. Sometimes I bring a box of books from my house, so. Gotta have a stack. Gotta have the right art books per project. I know a lot of designers bring those in too for shoots, but it's something that I think a lot of people overlook.
Oh yeah, I could see it. It seems so simple. Who doesn't have great books? But you're right. Not everybody does. A lot of people like me don't like stuff lying around.
It helps the photo though.
Yes, so. I can see that. Makes it feel like somebody actually lives there.
Yeah, that has good taste.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So I have two questions. Well, one question before I let you go. I would love for you to share with us. You have given so much good advice to interior designers on different ways to style a shoot and to go and to give really some deeper thought to the photo shoot than simply showing up and just whatever happens. And I know because we had the conversation at the top of the conversation where you're like us, you're a creative and you rely on your wife as your partner to help you with the business end of it. But if I ask you what's the best advice that you can recall receiving in business, and it could be related to anything. It could be related to taking your photo shoots. It could be related to business. But is there something that you can think of, Stephen?
Advice to designers?
Yeah. Or advice that helped you in your business, something that you just said, you think, you know what, I refer to this often. I think of this often.
Definitely. One thing definitely comes to mind, and it's forming relationships with clients and showing appreciation for the projects that you're given. I think even designers have to kind of go the extra step of really showing the love to their clients. I, as a photographer, failed for a long time at really sort of showing this love back to the designers that were hiring me. And a friend of mine that has become designer, Denise McGahey, that I work with a lot here in Dallas. She kind of gave me a reality check, recently, about just send a thank you note, just the basic, just get back down to the basics and say thank you, from to your designer from a photo shoot, or, as a designer to your clients. Like, I mean, if you're not doing that,
right.
And we failed, and we know this. We've been in business for 20 years, and we know how important this is. But just showing that extra level of appreciation, no matter what it is, send a gift, send a thank you note, give them a call, take them to lunch, take them out for drinks or whatever, after a great shoot, and just form those relationships with your clients is it's made a huge difference in our business. So
wow.
It was one that I overlooked for a long time, and I thank Denise for kicking us back in gear. subtle way to say it, but and it's not, and she did it as a friend,
sure.
And it's because she cares, and she's like, look, you guys really need to step up in this area, and we did.
I love
it. We took her advice, and it really helped.
I love it. You know what I love? First of all, Denise was on the show, episode number 10, way back in the beginning. And I'm just going to say, it's funny, it's irrelevant to this conversation, but I'm going to share it. I can remember interviewing her, and regardless of where her show is. So sometimes, guys, like when I'm going to say this, she might have been, somebody else's show might have come ahead of hers, but in real time interviewing, she was the first stranger interior designer that I interviewed that had a national level publicity about her, right? And
Yes.
I'm telling you what, I don't think I slept 2 minutes the entire night. I was literally podcasting a minute and a half, and I had done all my research and everything else. I was introduced to her through Kravit. I believe she's done a curated Kravit room, and I was shaking in my boots. I truly was. And the thing is, she is just the sweetest, nicest lady on the planet.
And she is one to watch for sure.
Yes.
She's rocking it right now.
Yes.
So
But I think that's really very powerful that she shared that with you, because that's not easy to say to somebody, especially somebody that it's clear that you guys have worked together for many years. She likes you, respects you as a photographer. But to just say, hey, you know what, Steve, you should do this, because it's a risk to say that to somebody. And so I think that's very interesting. And I think it tells a lot about her, that she actually was showing you that she has your back,
it was a semi-intervention.
Yes, right?
It's because she cares.
That's my point. But,
Yes.
a lot of people would just say, you know what, I'm not going to take the risk. I care about them. I want them to do the best that they can. I want the relationships going forward to be the best they can, but I'm not going to take the risk by telling them this. And so I commend her for doing that, and for you for acknowledging it and sharing it on air. So that's pretty cool. Thank you. Thank you. But it's true.
Denise.
Yeah, relationships are important. Amy Fleury says the same thing. And the reason I bring up Amy Fleury is because it all relates to getting pressing for photographs and everything. And it's the relationship with your photographer. It's the relationship with your editorial team. Jane Dagmy says the same thing. It's building relationships and getting to know people. So I think it's awesome. I can't thank you enough. My goodness, you really gave us some nice inside information here on how to make the best of our photo shoots. Thank you, Stephen.
Well, thank you, Luann. And I just want to help as many designers out there get great content and understand how to get it better from their photographers. And it's a relationship that is worth having with your photographer. So
definitely. Thank you.
Thanks, Luann.
So if you enjoyed this episode, you definitely want to check out episode number 343 with Raquel Langworthy. Stephen shared many of the same principles of working with your photographer that Raquel did. And you know what I always say, sometimes one person says it and maybe you get it and maybe you don't. Then another person says it and the light bulb goes off. So I like that these two professionals had similar tips and that each brought their own perspective to the conversation. One of my biggest takeaways from Stephen is that in addition to the practical advice that he shared for the photo scouting and the photo shoot, it is clear that he wants to impress upon you to take the photography aspect of your project seriously and to invest your time in each shoot to ensure that you get what you want, need, and most importantly, that you are ecstatic about the images that your photographer has created, because these images represent your brand, and building a brand identity should be a major part of your business strategy. Now, Stephen has a gift for you, his 5 free tips to improving your interiors photography. So all you have to do is go to stephenkarlisch.com, and that's spelled StephenKarlisch.com, and it's his 5 free tips to helping you improve your photography shoots. All right, now you're probably wondering what the heck is up with your voice, Luann. Well, I'm just going to tell you. I'm actually recording this on the Tuesday night during High Point. Yes, after being there from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all day today. I have one more day tomorrow. I have lost my voice. It's really fun. And that's just it. I had so much fun with everybody at High Point this week. So I'm talking, if you're listening in the future, this is High Point, October 2018. And I have to say, I have such a blast with each of you. And I just love it when you come up and you introduce yourself to me. I want to give a big shout out to ASID for hosting our panel discussion in the theater, where we talked about technology with Kelly Ellis and Phyllis Harbinger, Corey Damon Jenkins, and Laura Thurman. We had nearly 300 people join us, and that was really very, very fun. And then we were at Gabby Home with Rachel Cannon and Mrs. Paranjape. So big, huge thanks to them. And also at Alder and Tweed, where we had a My Doma sponsored event where we talked about all the ins and outs of My Doma Studio. So I have to say that we had packed houses at each of these events, and I had a lot of fun, as you can tell by my voice. The crazy thing is I have one more event tomorrow morning. By the time you hear us, it'll be done. But yeah, at 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm giving an hour-long presentation to the NKBA, which I am so excited and thrilled to be involved and giving their morning breakfast speech. So my huge thanks to all of my designer besties who came out to see me, my baby designers, all of the people who joined me, my experts at the Power Talk Friday event, and the designers that took place at it. We had the most excellent day, and I really enjoyed getting to know each one of you and spending the entire day with each of you. I'm looking forward to the next live event, and if you are too, be sure to be on my email list so that you're in the know about where I'm going to be next. If you'd like to be on the email list, text the number 444-999, and in the field, enter the word Design Biz. That's DESIGNBIZ. Design Biz. All right. One more shout out to my great friends, Charles Pavarini and Randall Tarasuk of Pavarini Design Associates. I'm going to let a little cat out of the bag. They had a soft launch of their privately designed furniture line for Swaim. And there's a few pieces out. You should go to swaim.com to look into it, and then look for the big launch later this year. But congratulations to you guys. All right. What's your aha from this? What's your takeaway? If it's from this show, I'd love to know what it is. If it's something that you learned from Stephen about how to look at and think about your photography sessions, I have to say the pre-scouting tip I thought was major. Wondering what your takeaway was. Maybe you had a takeaway from High Point Market. If you had one, I'd love for you to DM me in Instagram post associated with this show. All right? But whatever it was, I hope that you will decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at luannigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.